All right, what's up, everyone? So, in this episode, as the title says, just cleaning it up and gonna begin the initial tear down on the back of the camper. So the initial cleanup, you could say, well, why are you cleaning it? You need to do a lot of work. Why waste time on the cleaning? Well, the cleaning is twofold. One, it's gonna make give the camper that shine that it originally had, just get some of that grime off. But two, you have to remember, I'm buying this camper as a project because it had, water damage. It leaked. So with the pressure washer, it's gonna actually expose, different locations that rain may not necessarily expose. The roof definitely, the rain can do that, but the pressure washer is going to get in and around the cracks and seals around windows and all kinds of stuff. So, that's part of the reason. Plus, now it's going to look a lot nicer. And you can instantly see that with this. Look at that front. That's what it started out as. That's what it came out to be. The back, same thing. Oh boy, you can see my reflection in the thing. The other side, I mean, it just definitely made a huge difference, just cleaning it. Plus, now I know where the leaks are.
What are you thinking about?
Huh? I'm thinking it's demo day, baby.
All right, so now that we got all the shenanigans out of the way and me almost trying to knock my wife out, I went ahead and started ripping everything out of the trailer. That way, I had a clean floor to work with, and it's easier to move around, and I'm not, kind of jumping over everything. So then once I did that, I started cleaning out the cupboards to get everything out of there. It wasn't much stuff, but there was some, and all that little stuff adds weight whenever you're trying to tear down the cabinets. So once I got that cleaned out, then I started taking down the netting at the top that where you can put stuff up there so it doesn't fall out. And then once I got the netting down, I went ahead and started taking out all the screws that hold the cupboards or cabinets out or on, I should say. And I did this because we're trying to save these. They're in pretty decent shape, need a little bit of work, but we're trying to save them so we didn't have to build new ones or buy new ones. So I was trying to be as gentle with that as I could. So we got the one out. It came out pretty easy, very minimal damage. The second one, it came out a lot easier. And then once I did that, I started taking down the blinds. Now the blinds themselves we're probably not going to keep, but the top of them, the piece that goes over top of the blinds, it has the RPM logo and everything, and I think it's kind of cool. So I think what we're doing is we're saving those. We'll probably put those back up just because it fits the theme of the trailer. So then got the cover off for the backlight, and then I started going down through to get the upper hooks that held the netting in above the cabinets. And it's probably kind of hard to see, but as soon as I took some of those screws out on the right-hand side, water instantly started pouring out. So there was definitely some water up in the ceiling. So I rushed off to get a bucket because it was coming down pretty good. Um, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, so that was at the beginning of the water. So in the meantime, while I was draining out, I started on the other side, started ripping up the tie down pieces that you would like tie down to bikes or other equipment. Um, that way I wasn't getting wet. and that gave time for the ceiling to drain out. Then I got some of the pieces off the
All right, so
walls.
it's kind of hard to see probably in the GoPro, but basically when I took the screws out for the netting, water just started gushing out of here. It's still dripping slowly now, and I got you can see I didn't get the bucket quite in time, but there's a good, come on, focus. There's a good inch or so of water in this 5-gallon bucket. So it definitely, and it looks like it's still sagging. So it's definitely been retaining some water. And I mean, it rained last night, so that doesn't probably help. And it looks a little saggy here. But, all right, so all the water must have drained down to where this initial cut that I made. So yeah, I just wanted to show you a close up of that.
Okay, so after I was done goofing off with that, the water slowly started dripping out. So I started back on the right side, got the floor, started working on the floor to get the tie down bar up, and of course, with everything when it's wet, the screws don't come out easy. So I had to work all the screws on this side with the pry bar so they'd have pressure so I could lift them up. And once I did that, I started getting the diamond plating off, and kind of the same thing. A lot of the screws in the wall were just basically rusted, so I had to do a lot of prying on the screws just to be able to get them out. So it was definitely longer than I was expecting to get these pieces off because it was only a few screws, but over 3/4 of them they were stuck in there. So I tried to get those plate. Um, and definitely going to be probably reusing them just because it helps protect the walls. So I didn't want to keep any of the screws in there. So I went on the other side, did the same thing. And of course, again, the wood is so wet, it's just, the screws were just spinning, and the screws that weren't spinning, they had like big chunks of rust on the back side, so they weren't coming through the metal. But finally got it off and had to do the same thing. I had to work it to get the screws out of the metal itself. And then from there, I decided instead of going for the outlets and everything on the walls, I figured I'd get some of the roof stuff out of the way. So I got the speakers, I got the upper lights out of the way, and once I had all that down, then I started going back over to the outlets and everything. And some of these outlets, there's a lot of corrosion. Obviously, the one closest to the back door was the worst. So start taking out the rest of the electrical outlets, and they're a little different than your normal house style. Um, they kind of just the wires just kind of like push down in, but getting them out is a little different than everything else. But I wanted to get those out of the way so I could start this part of the project, which is start ripping the walls. So I started in back in the corner. That way, well, I shouldn't say that way. Because it was so rotted out there, it was easier for me to get access into the wood paneling. And then, as you can see, I was able to do that. And there were so many ants in here. I said, screw that. And I got some ant spray, even though I know I'm getting rid of all of it. But, man, it was hundreds of thousands of ants probably. So I just kept ripping off the side of the wall. It was pretty easy definitely in the back corner because everything was just wet. It literally just came off. It was just sitting on there. Plus, it's normally only held on by staples. There's no glue or anything on this. It's literally just the staples holding in. So, finally got to the window, decided I'll take the window trim off. It doesn't necessarily hold the window in place. It does assist with that, but I wanted to get that off because I didn't want to get it all bent up.
Hey, we got some dry wood. Nice. So this part definitely shot. You can even see right here, it's a little bit dry. But this upper part here is dry. This is wet, obviously, but we got some dry wood here. Oh yeah. Nice. I mean, I'm probably going to be replacing this anyway, even if this wood is good. I'm probably going to be putting 2x4s in versus the little 1x2s. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do 2x4s, do the 1x2s, or maybe get the aluminum metal frames that they make for these campers. And they use in a lot of like car haulers and stuff. Obviously, I want to keep some weight down. I don't want this being too heavy. So the 1x2s definitely keep the weight down on campers and trailers. 2x4s definitely is going to add some more weight, but it also adds rigidity. So, yeah, I haven't decided yet, but probably going to go with 2x4s and, you know, but, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, let me finish tearing this rest of this off, and we'll have this wall done, and then maybe we'll start working on the other wall then. So let me finish this up.
Yeah, so I just started trying to rip as much off. This stuff was a lot harder to take off just because, you know, it was going into dry wood and the staples were actually doing their job. So it was a little pain. Got all the insulation out. Started working around the tire well then. And that was pretty easy. It was just held on by a little plate in the front with some screws, and the rest it was just stapled around. So I got that off and tried going around for some of the rest trim, but it was just flaking off. And honestly, it's just kind of frustrating trying to get it off. It just wasn't coming off easy. I couldn't give it a hammer. Couldn't really get it with the floor nail remover. It was just being a pain. So I just ripped as much as I could, as far over as I could. And, you know, obviously got the insulation out of there.
Well, there's most of that wall done. As you can see, basically this part back here, the frame and everything is gone. This part over is actually not bad. It's actually good. So that's good. But yeah, the more I think about it, I'm just probably just gonna do it all. And originally, the back wall, this wall here with the door separator, I was just gonna leave it alone. But seeing back here, this wall is tucked in. When I put the new paneling up, one, I'm probably not going to be able to get the same paneling that's on here. Two, that's tucked in behind because there is a piece of frame right at this corner. So to avoid the walls being wobbly, once I have it done, having this wall off, I'll be able to get into it, put some staples or nails or whatever I'm going to use to hold the walls in. So I think I am going to take this wall down. I'm going to take it down very carefully because I don't want to, this whole part of the wall is super solid and I don't want to mess up the frame there. I probably won't reframe this part. Probably just going to be the side walls that I mess with. So yeah, so we got pretty much got this side done. I'll finish this corner up here, or I should say up here, once I get this part of the wall off, because then I can get in there and get a better leverage. But yeah, so there's this wall.
Okay, so now I had a plan of attack. I decided I'd get started on the other side of the wall, or the other wall. And I knew I was going to get to the window, so I just figured I'd take the trim off. Got trim off, and it started ripping and tearing into the wall. It was a little tricky, but I found that getting around that outlet was probably the easiest way to get the best leverage. So I just rip. Um, actually, surprisingly, on the backside of this was a little bit tougher than on the other side. It was a little drier. I mean, it was still wet, but it was a little drier. Again, trying to get all the insulation out of there. Most of the stuff towards the back was just soaking wet, kind of like the steel is going to be probably, in my opinion. But yeah, so just kept working my way around, getting as many big pieces of paneling off as I could. While I was down in the corner, I decided I'd just get the tire cover off, just because the paneling was kind of stuck in behind it. So I just felt like it was easier to just rip it all off, and then work the paneling from there. So that's just what I did, and yeah, the paneling again, kind of like on the other side, it was starting to flake off because it was actually getting into the good wood, which is nice that there was good wood, but annoying that I had to peel off small pieces at a time. But I'm alright with peeling off small pieces, just knowing that I have a decent back part of the frame to deal with. So then I started. Now that I got that part done, I decided to start on the center. And in order to do that, I had to remove the door. The trim actually sat in behind there. And in order to do that, there was, I don't know, a lot of screws around the whole frame. So I had to remove, like the 100 screws that held it in. And then it just kind of just popped out once I gave it a little pry. It came out nice and easy. Obviously, I'm going to reuse that door, so I just set it off inside where it's nice and dry. The trim pieces that went with it, I also set in there, just because it's all going to go back together. I am reusing that door, and I don't anticipate on changing anything with the door frame, so everything should go right back into place. I'm not going that far in with replacing of the walls. So once I had that, then I started trying to chip off the wall there. And of course, as I figured, just like the other parts of the sidewalls that were in the back, they didn't peel off easy. The staples were held in pretty good, and up in the top at the ceiling, it was actually holding in pretty good as well. So, it is what it is. It was definitely a lot of work. And I didn't necessarily need to tear all of that back wall off, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I want all the paneling in the back to match, even though it's the hauler part. I still want it to match, because if I'm at the track, that's what people are going to look in. If I have the door open, that's what they're going to see, and it just makes sense to have everything match. All right, so that's where we'll end this episode. We got the two side walls and the back wall completely removed, plus the cabinets, all this lights, speakers, the motorcycle and other equipment tie downs, the diamond plating. So we got a good bit done in this episode, and to not waste your time on everything, we'll stop it here. We're already half hour in. And the next episode, look for starting to tear the frame, the actual frame itself off, and probably the roof panel, maybe not the entire roof, but the panel at least, and maybe the floor. We'll see how long that takes into everything. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Thank you.